الرحمن الرحيم للذين يؤلون من نسائهم تربص 4 أشهر فإن فاءوا فإن الله غفور رحيم. Those who swear to abstain from their wives have 4 months of waiting. Thereafter, if they revert back, retract their statement, Allah is most forgiving, most merciful. وَإِنْ عَزَمُوا الطَّلَاقَ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. And if they resolve to divorce, then Allah is all hearing, all knowing. We are reading verses 226 and 227 of Surah Baqarah. Previously, we read some ahkam of women, ladies, their masail, whom we can marry, whom we cannot marry, and masail of haiz, masail of sexual relationship. And then Allah went on to some masail of yameen and qassam. Now, because sometimes there is qassams between husband and wife during arguments. Now Allah is mentioning a special type of qassam and the ahkam of that qassam. And that is where a person takes a qassam that he's not going to go near his wife, he's not going to have sexual relationship with her. So what are the rulings for that? Number two, second connection is, previously Allah talked about qassam and hinted towards kafara. So Allah is now mentioning another type of qassam of not going near the wife and saying that if you took this type of qassam, you will not sleep with her, and then you break that qassam, you'll have to give kafara. And that kafara will be similar to the kafara which we mentioned above of kafara yameen, because it is breaking of that qassam. So similar kafara will be necessary. This is the connection of this verse with the previous verses. Rabt. Now, before we move on to the tafsir of the verse, we need to understand that husbands and wives have arguments. Sometimes they get separated from one another for a few days or weeks. And maybe she goes to her mom's house, or he leaves the house and goes to stay somewhere else. Now, if they were to stay separate for a long period without any qassam or anything, it doesn't have any effects. This type of separation does not have any effect on their relationship. They are still classed as married. Their nikah is valid. Also, sometimes the husband goes abroad for some job or something, and he stays there for a long period, few years maybe. He only comes now and then and goes back to work, and he sends money home. So that does not have any effect on the relationship either, because there is no qassam or anything of staying away or anything. They're still married. Even if they were separated for 6 years, 5 years, 6 years, no problem. Sometimes after an argument, they separated and they're living separately, but he's not given her divorce, nor did she ask for it. And maybe 10 years passed. So she's still in her nikah. We remember there is a case, someone who was from India, married there, he had some children there as well. and then he came to UK, and he just disappeared, and even relatives didn't know where he was. Sometimes he would phone and they would ask, "Where are you?" But he wouldn't tell them. And he spent maybe 20, 25 years like this. And his wife was alone. He used to send money for her, sometimes phone her as well, but no relation. And she, bichari, brought up all the kids. And after 20, 25 years, he was not so well, his health was deteriorating. So he said to his wife, "I'm coming back to India." And she said, "No problem, come down, it's your house." And bichari, she was so nice. She took him back, he went there. And he was ill and she did her khidmat. He's still my husband. Though they have stayed separate for 25 years. So this the separation for a long period does not have any effect on the nikah until something is verbally declared. We get incidents of like this in previous days as well, but a simple incident, like for example, Rabiatul Rai, his father used to live, his parents used to live in Medina Sharif. So his father had some money, he left it with his mother, maybe 30,000 dirham or something. And he said, "I'm going for jihad in the path of Allah. You keep this money, protect it, look after it, use it wisely. Allah knows what happens. Something might happen to me in jihad fi sabilillah." He left. And he went from one place to another, to another, to another, to another. He ended up somewhere in Khurasan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and the jihad in that area. And he was unable to come back to Medina Sharif for 27 years. Now, 27 years later, he came back and he went to his house and he knocked on the door, and this young man opened the door and he said, "I want to go inside." I said, "No, you can't. This is not your house." And he said, "This is my house." "No, it's not your house. You're lying. It's my house." They started arguing. So he stood aside. The young man went to the masjid, said, "It's my namaz time. I don't want to argue with you." Went to the masjid. And then the young man's mother came and she recognized it. "Oh, it's you." "Yeah, Ada, come sit inside." And they started chit-chat talking. The young man went to the masjid for namaz. And then azan took place. So he also went to the masjid, prayed namaz. And after namaz, he came back, was talking to his wife. And then he asked her, "I left with you 30,000. What did you do with it?" Said, "You told me to use it wisely. I used it wisely." "Where did you use it?" Said, "You went to the masjid." "Yeah." "What did you see in the masjid after namaz?" "After namaz, I saw this young man. He was sitting and he was teaching hadith and people sitting around him." And she said, "Well, that's your 30,000. That's your son. His name is Rabi'atul Rai. He is the Ustad of Imam Malik, Rahmatullahi alayhi." And he said, "After you left, I gave birth to him and I nurtured him. And mashallah, he's now a big muhaddis and faqih. He's the Imam of Ahlul Madinah, Ustad of Imam Malik, Rahmatullahi alayhi." So 27 years down the line. So things happen like this. So that does not have any effect on the relationship. However, if they had some argument, and in that argument, the husband took a qassam, "I'm not going to have sexual relationship with you." Now, when he said that, either he said it without mentioning any period, time limit, or he said it by mentioning time limit. And that time limit is either 4 months or more, or it's less than 4 months. They all have separate ahkam. Before we understand that, we need to understand the sabab-e-nuzul, cause of revelation of this verse in connection. In the pre-Islamic era of Jahiliyyah, the Jahil ignorant people, they used to take such qassams of not having sexual relationship with the wife, and then they would leave her suspended forever. He would not approach her, so bichari she's not married, and they wouldn't divorce her, so she can't marry someone else. And if she was to ask for something, they would, beat her up and abuse her and say, you have there, you're going to stay like this. I'm going to keep you like this for the rest of your life. And they would do ila and take this qasam for an indefinite period. So Islam came and put restrictions on this. If someone said, I'm never going to have sexual relationship with you, and it was indefinite, and he did not approach her for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 4 lunar months, not solar calendar. Lunar calendar months passed by. As soon as those 4 months passed by, she is separated from him. Now over here, Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi is of the opinion that there will be automatic talaq. Talaq-e-ba'in will take place. And it's finished. If he wants to now go back to her, he will have to take her consent first. If she agrees, otherwise he has no say. And secondly, he will have to do fresh nikah with fresh mahar in the presence of fresh witnesses. Proper nikah majlis will need to be conducted if he wants to stay with her now. Number 2, he mentioned 4 months. I'm not going to come closer to you for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. He mentioned a period which is more than 4 months. Then if he does approach her within the 4 months and has sexual relationship with her, then his ila and qassam will be broken and he'll have to give kafara for it, which is the kafara of yameen. Freeing one slave, or feeding 10 miskeens, or clothing 10 miskeens, or keeping 3 rozas. Kafaratul ila. Number 3, he said, Allah ne qasam, I'm not going to approach you for a period which he mentioned, which was less than 4 months. For 1 week, 1 month, 2 months. Now, if he was to approach her within that time limit of 1 week or 1 month, his qasam will be broken. He'll have to give kafara. But if he continued for that period to stay away from her, and that 1 week or 1 month passed by, then nothing will happen. His qasam is not broken, and he doesn't need to give any kafara or anything. And the wife is not divorced, she's still his wife. Because this is not the Shari'i ila. Shari'i ila and the ahkam of Shariat which take place in ila is when its maximum period is 4 months or over, or indefinite period is mentioned. If it's less than 4 months, then that's not Shari'i ila, it's just a normal qasam. If he abides by that qasam, okay. Otherwise, the qasam will be broken, and he will have to give kafara if he goes to his wife between that period. Otherwise, 1 month passes, they're still married. This happened during the time of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself as well. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam did ila from his wives for 1 month. What was the cause of that ila? 2-3 incidents are mentioned. One of them is that Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to go to Hazrat Zainab radiallahu anha's house every day after Asr and stay with her for a while and drink some nice honey at her place. And she used to bring nice, beautiful, tasty honey for him, and he liked honey. Now the other Azwaj Mutaharat got a little bit jealous. They said, yeah, he goes to her house every day, like that, we have to do something. Hazrat Aisha radiallahu anha devised the scheme. She got her party in which was Aisha, Hafsa, Sauda radiallahu anhu najmain. And they said that when he comes to you today after visiting Zainab, then you should say, Ya Rasulullah, akalta maghafir? Have you eaten this thing called maghafir? And he will say, no, I haven't. Said, I just had some honey with Zainab. So when he sees that, you must say, oh, the honeybee must have been on that thing, urfut, and that's why the smell is in there. Now, Nabi Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam hated bad smell, foul smell. Now, she said, Sauda, you must say that when he comes to you. Hafsa, you must say that, and I'll say the same thing. Now, when some people, get together and say something, you tend to get that feeling. Like the kids, they didn't want to learn sabak with Master Ji one day. Said, Master Sahab, why are you looking so pale? Have you got some bukhar fever or something? Are you a headache? No, I'm all right. Another person, no, but Ustad Ji, your color is very pale. No, I'm all right. Another said, yeah, I think I've got headache. So over here as well, when all three said this, Nabi Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, okay then, from now on, I'm not going to go to Zainab to drink that honey and take it from her. Now they go happy and under gossip chalu ho gayi. Hazrat Zainab ko khabar ho gayi and Hazrat Zainab found out and she go angry. Now this is something which is, among wives, Shariat isko maaf karti hai. It overlooks it. This is maximum what happened, nothing more than that among Azwaji Mutaharat. Another incident is narrated that once Nabi Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam went to Hafsa radiallahu anha's house. Now, he sent her to get something or something, and Maria Qibtiyya had come there. She used to live in another area. She had come there, so Nabi Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam had sexual relationship with her. And then he had ghusl. Hafsa came and she noticed and she started crying. You slept with Maria in my house? She started crying. And Prophet ﷺ calmed her down. Okay, don't cry. No, you did this. So Prophet ﷺ said, okay, I've made Maria haram on me. I will never sleep with her to keep her happy. Now Hafsa, not happy, but she couldn't keep it in. So her neighbor was Aisha. So she told Aisha. And Aisha was happy as well. Chalo, ek kam ho gayi. So, Nabi Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he found out, he told Hafsa not to tell anyone. But Hafsa told Aisha, and the word got out. Huzur was angry. A third incident is also narrated that once Azwaji Mutaharat asked Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to increase their expenses. Nabi Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to give all Azwaj their expenses. But they said, can you increase it a little bit, please? Now, Nabi Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, I give you what I have. I can't give you more than that. He used to give them annual expenses. Because Salana, when the, Pak comes, khajur and wheat and barley and whatever, so he gives them the whole annual Salana expenses. There weren't any gas bills and electricity bills and phone bills and this bill and that bill. Simple house, water and everything was there, clothing, they had enough clothes. So this is what expense was, and he used to give them. But Azwaji Mutaharat were extremely generous and sakhi, like Rasul Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam himself. So that annual ration would finish within 3-4 months. And then for the other ones, they would go survive on whatever comes and goes. Many times it's faqa for many days. So they said, can you increase our expenses a little bit? They all got together. Now Nabi Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, no, I can't. Whatever I have, I give you. I can't give more than that. Now, Nabi Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was a bit angry. And he was displeased. So he said this, that I'm not going to come close to you for 1 month. And then he had a mashruba, a loft, upper area in the house, and he just went there and he spent the time there. He would just come down, go to the masjid, read namaz, whatever he needs to do throughout the day, everything, and then go back to that room of his own in isolation. And for 1 month, he never went close to the wives. This is temporary separation. Now, this is not ila shar'i, it's ila lughawi. Literally, it's ila, but shari but it can only be ila if it's 4 months or over. So he did not approach them for 1 month. Now, Azwaji Mutaharat, oh, they are crying. Now, when this happened, the rumor spread that Nabi Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has divorced all his wives. Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu anhu, he used to live in the Awali, and his friend Itban ibn Malik, they used to take turns. One day, Itban goes to Masjid Nabawi and brings the news. The second day, Umar goes to Masjid Nabawi and brings the news for Itban. So that day, it was Itban ibn Malik's turn. He came rushing, late in the evening, and he banged his door. And he said, open the door, open the door, open the door. What happened? What happened? What happened? He's the Ghassani king over here for his army was getting ready. Is he here? Is he attacking Medina? Some intelligence comes. Said, no, worse than that. What's worse than that? Prophet ﷺ has divorced all his wives. Oh no. Khabat Hafsatu wa khasir. My daughter Hafsa is doomed, failed, khatam. Huzur has divorced her. What's going to happen now? He spent the night in a restless manner. In the morning after Fajr, before Fajr, he immediately rushed and went to Masjid Nabawi Sharif, prayed Fajr there. And then after Fajr, after Awrada's car, he went to meet Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Now there was this khadim sitting there, attendant, and Huzur was on his isolation in the loft area, upper area. So he said, can you seek permission from me? I want to meet Huzur. And he asked and came back and he said, I mentioned you to him, but no answer. So Umar came and sat in the masjid. Everybody was crying and they were all, extremely sad. Hazrat Umar couldn't, do sabr. He came back and said, ask him, I want to meet him. So again he went close to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and said, Ya Rasulullah, Umar is asking permission. Huzur didn't say anything. He came back and said, I'm sorry, no answer. So he came back and sat in the masjid. After a while, he went again. Please, I want to see him. Now Huzur heard him as well. Look, I've not come here to talk about my daughter Hafsa. Wallah, if he tells me to chop her neck off, I'll kill her. I'm just here to see how he is. I don't have anything about my daughter. So he said third time as well, sorry, no answer. So he was going back to the place. And then the Khadim Yarfa called over. Oh, Umar, Huzur has called you over. He's given you permission. So he immediately went. He climbed up there and he went to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And he said, Ya Rasulullah, have you divorced your wives? And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, shook his head, said, no, I haven't divorced them. I felt relieved. And then he said, Ya Rasulullah, these ladies, they do your mind in. He said, the other day, my wife as well, I said something to her and she answered back. And you should have seen me also. I just got up and, I grabbed hold of her neck and I pressed her. And I said, you answering back to me? And she said, yeah, what's wrong with that? Your daughter answers back to the Prophet ﷺ as well. So I let her go. Ya Rasulullah, we were in Makkah, it was so nice. We were dominant over our wives. But over here, when we came to Medina, these Ansar, their wives are dominant over them. Now our ladies have learned from them and they are also answering back to us. The culture is totally different over here. And Nabi Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam smiled. When he smiled, Umar felt relieved, Alhamdulillah. Because he had to say something to get the attention of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And then, Umar sat there. He had talk, light-hearted conversation with Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And then he looked around. The kul kainat of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Nothing. He was sleeping on a straw mat. And there was no sheet or chadar or anything between him and the straw mat. And the zigzag, nishan effects of it were on his back whilst he was leaning. And he was leaning on a pillow which was made of leather, and inside was not sponge or anything. Inside were date palm leaves, which are also not comfortable and they're itchy. But he was resting on that, that's what he had. And he looked around and there was some beri ke patte, some leaves which are used for boiling in the water for ghusl. And he saw some weapon on one side, some sword and body armor. And this is Huzur's house, and that's his furniture. He's got nothing besides that. So he started crying, he had tears in his eyes. And he said, Ya Rasulullah, these Yahud and Nasara, the Romans and the Persians, they don't even believe in Allah. And they have so much luxury and so much dunya and so much wealth and money, and you are Rasulullah, and this is what I'm seeing in your house. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sat up straight and he said, أَوَ فِي شَكٍّ أَنْتَ يَا ابْنَ الْخَطَّابِ أَمَا تَرْضَى أَنْ تَكُونَ لَهُمُ الدُّنْيَا وَلَنَا الْآخِرَةِ أُولَٰئِكَ قَوْمٌ عُجِّلَتْ لَهُمْ طَيِّبَاتُهُمْ فِي حَيَاتِهِمُ الدُّنْيَا. O son of Khattab, are you in any doubts? Any shak? They are people who've been given their luxuries in this dunya. Quickly, take it, whatever you want. And would you not be happy that for them is the dunya and for us is the akhirat? And Umar ibn Khattab said, Yes, Allah, I'm sorry, my mistake. He had said, لَوْ دَعَوْتَ اللَّهَ لِأُمَّتِكَ فَلْيُوَسِّعْ عَلَيْهِمْ. Also he had said this in another riwayat. Had you made dua to Allah so that He expands provisions for your ummah. Upon this, Huzur made that statement. Now, Hazrat Umar's adab, respect, is shown here. He didn't say, Ud'u Allah falyuwassi alayk. He said, Ud'u Allah falyuwassi ala ummatik. Make dua that Allah makes wus'at and expands rozi and provisions for your ummat. Upon that, Huzur said, Oh, son of Khattab, are you in shak? Yeah, it's for them is dunya, for us is akhirat. And akhirat is permanent, everlasting, 100 million, trillion times better than the dunya. So, this happened at that time. Huzur stayed in that mashrubah and loft for 1 month. After 1 month finished, he came down and he first went to Aisha radiallahu anha. And Aisha said, Ya Rasulullah, you said you're going to stay away for 1 month? It's only 29 days. And Huzur said, this month is of 29 days. And then he said, Yeah, Aisha, I'm going to say something to you, offer you a choice. Don't rush. Make mashwara with your parents and then give me the answer. Allah has revealed to me, يا أيها النبي قل لأزواجك إن كنتن تردن الحياة الدنيا وزينتها فتعالين أمتعكن وأسرحكن سراحا جميلا وإن كنتن تردن الله ورسوله والدار الآخرة فإن الله أعد للمحسنات منكن أجرا عظيما. If you want Allah and the life of the hereafter, then Allah has prepared for you, those who do good among you, a huge reward. And if you want this worldly life, then come, I'll give you some money, provisions, and let you go freely, relax, spend your life the way you want. You have a choice of both. Either you want dunya, I'll give you as much as you want. And if you want akhirat, then this is my life and you have to stay like I am living. And Aisha said, Ya Rasulullah, is this something to make mashwara with my parents? I don't need to make mashwara. I choose you. I want to stay with you. I don't want dunya. But one thing I want to ask you. You're going to go to your other wives. They might ask, what did Aisha say? Don't tell them my answer. अच्छा है ना जो कम हो करो. But Nabi Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, no. If any one of them asks me what was Aisha's answer, I'll tell them directly. إن الله لم يبعثني معنتا ولا متعنتا ولكن بعثني معلما ميسرا. Allah has not sent me as someone who makes matters difficult for others and puts them in hardship. Allah has made me as an educator and a person who makes things easy for everyone. And Azwaj Mutahharat all said the same answer. I want to stay with you, Ya Rasulullah. So, these three incidents are mentioned. Muhaddithin say, it could happen that all three happened, then Huzur did ila and temporary separation of 1 month, because he was normally a soft, gentle person. He wouldn't do that on one thing. So things happen, one thing and another thing and another thing. And then when everything combines, then, you take some action. So this is ila for 1 month, which Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam did. If you go into temporary separation and take a qasam of not approaching the wife, not sleeping with her for 1 month, then this is within that 4 months maximum limit. If you keep up to it and you stay away for 1 month, like Nabi Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did, and you approach her after 1 month, then that nothing does not affect the nikah, the marital life. And if you go to her before that period finishes, your qasam is broken, you'll have to give kafara of qasam. Now, there are some masail over here of going back. Imam Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi is reported to have said that going back means having sexual intercourse with her. But Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi says that if ruju is done by the tongue, that will also be sufficient, as mentioned in Ma'ariful Quran of Hazrat Maulana Idris Kandalvi rahmatullahi alayhi. कहाँ गया? अभी तो मैंने देखा ना. हाँ, इमाम अबू हनीफा के नजदीक रुजू के लिए फकत इतना काफी है कि मैंने रुजू कर लिया. इमाम शाफी के नजदीक बिला वती के रुजू नहीं होता. Imam Shafi'i says that if you want to take back, then since you took qasam of not having sexual relations with her, then you can't do ruju and go back unless you have sexual relationship with her. This is Imam Shafi'i's mazhab. But Imam Abu Hanifa said, even if he just said that, okay, I take you back, we make up, we're going to live together, that should be sufficient as well. But over here in Tafsir Anwarul Bayan, Mufti Ashiq Ilahi Balan Shehri rahmatullahi alayhi said that no, he will have to have sexual intercourse with her. Otherwise, just verbal taking back will not be allowed. He writes, the ila will expire when the person cohabits with his wife, which entails a practical retraction of the oath. However, if practical retraction is not possible due to either party being ill or the wife being a minor, he may verbally retract his oath within the stipulated period. However, if cohabitation becomes impossible within this period, the verbal retraction will no longer be valid. सिर्फ जबान से कह दिया कि मैंने तुझको वापस ले लिया वो काफी नहीं है, उसके साथ हम मिस्त्री करना पड़ेगा तो वापस लेना शुमार होगा. It will now be imperative that he cohabits with her, failing which she would be divorced from him. समझ में आ गया? तो इन्होंने ये लिखा है, शायद ये मुफ्ती आशिक इलाही साहब वाला थोड़ा डिटेल से है, because he took custom of not having sex with her, so he to break that he'll have to sleep with her, otherwise his ila will not be terminated, and break the custom, give kafara, and then take her back. This is what will happen. Also, Hazrat writes here, Shan-e-Nuzul, which I have just mentioned before, but after the 4 months period passes, let's say he said, I'm not going to come close to you for 4 months, and the 4 months period passed, and on the same day, the last and final day, the sun set. 4 months, 10 days finished. Sorry, 4 months, not 10 days. 10 days in the Wafat. 4 months, and on the last day, the time passed, and he immediately did ruju. Will that be allowed or not? Imam Shafi rahmatullah alayhi, Imam Malik, Imam Ahmad से अगर ईला करने वाले 4 माह गुजरने पर फौरन रुजू कर लिया तो रुजू मोतबर है, then the nikah will be intact. Imam Abu Hanifa said no. As soon as 4 months finish, ruju and taking back retraction is now finished. The time's up. No longer you can take her back. And then another mas'ala. After 4 months finished, what will happen? Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi said immediate talaqe ba'in. And Imam Shafi rahmatullah alayhi said yuqaful muli. Muli ko suspend kiya jayega. The one who did ila, he will be suspended. Now she will have to go to the qazi, and qazi will give her divorce. Unless the muli gives divorce. The husband after 4 months has to divorce her, and he does not divorce her, the ila termination will not automatically mean talaq. Rather, she will have to go to qazi, and qazi will give her divorce. So according to Imam Shafi, it's a little bit more complicated. According to Imam Abu Hanifa, it's very simple. As soon as the 4 months pass by, one talaq ba'in will immediately take place, and that's it, finish. And both parties have their dalail. We have our call is narrated from Sayyidina Ali, Sayyidina Ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhuma, and this is the madhab of Imam Abu Hanifa as quoted by Ibn Kasir rahmatullahi alayhi. However, Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma and others say that it will not be instant talaq. What we've just mentioned will have to take place. This is also narrated from Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhu. And also Suhail ibn Abi Salih narrates from his father that I asked 12 Sahaba about a person who did ila, temporary separation, qasam, from his wife, and they all said there's nothing on him until 4 months pass by, and then he will be suspended, she will be suspended. If he does ruju, otherwise he will have to give talaq to her. He will divorce her. This is narrated from Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, Imam Ahmad, and his ashab. Hanafiya say Ibn Mas'ud's qiraat over here is فَإِنْ فَاءُوا فِيهِنَّ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. If they return and take back within that period, then Allah is Ghafurur Rahim. So fihinna's qiraat of Ibn Mas'ud explains this masla a little bit more. وَإِنْ عَزَمُوا الطَّلَاقِ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. Azamut talaq, they resolve to give talaq. Shafi'i will say it means if they want to give talaq after the 4 months. But Hanafiya say azamut talaq means if they have decided to separate and give talaq and 4 months pass, then that is azmut talaq. That is the firm resolve, meaning he is stubborn and he is done. His 4 months period finished, so that talaq is automatically taking place. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. Allah hears everything, Allah knows everything. And for فَإِنْ فَاءُوا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ, meaning if they retracted the statement and they give kafara, broke the qasam, Allah Pak is saying Allah is Ghafurur Rahim. By Ghafurur Rahim, what is Allah indicating? Allah is indicating, break your qasam, give kafara, stay with your wife. It's better to hold on to your wife. Don't divorce her. Divorce is no good. Allah is Ghafurur Rahim. Take her back and give kafara. This is why Allah said Ghafurur Rahim. And make dua that it does not happen again. So, these are masail of temporary separation. All clear? 4 stages. What was the first stage? A person says, I'm not going to have sexual relationship with you for indefinite period. Number 2, he said, I'm not going to have sexual relationship with you for 6 months. Period which is over 6 months. Number 3, I'm not going to have sexual relationship with you for 4 months. Exact 4 months. And number 4, I'm not going to have sexual relationship with you for 1 month, 1 week, 2 months, 3 months, 3.5 months, anything below 4. Then in the first 3 cases, as soon as the 4 months pass by, Imam Abu Hanifa said, talaq will automatically take place. In the 4th case, if he goes back to her within that period and has sexual relationship with her, then qasam will break and he'll have to give kafara qasam. If he doesn't go back to her within that period and that time of 1 week or 1 month passes by, then no ila will take place, no kafara, and the nikah won't be broken either. In the first 3 cases, nikah will be broken, and he will have to, if he wants to remarry her, he'll have to do nikah jadid, and he'll have to propose again. And if she agrees, if she is happy, then he can do nikah jadid with her. There's no need for halalu walalu. Halalu is only, halala it would only be 3 talaqs. This is only 1 talaq-e-bain. So after ila, 1 talaq-e-bain takes place. So they can do nikah jadid after that. One masla Mufti Sahab mentioned over here. Sometimes it happens that he made ila of whatever period, 1 month, 4 months, whatever. And within that period, he gave talaq. Right? Now, she's sitting in her iddat. Now, because he is the husband, he wants to do nikah with her again. And they do nikah again. Or he gave talaq-e-raj'i and he did ruju. Because in talaq-e-raj'i, you don't need to do nikah. Talaq-e-bain, you need to do nikah. We'll explain that later. But 1 talaq he gave and then he took her back. Mufti Sahab said that ila is still intact. He will have to either break that ila and give kafara. Or if it was less than 4 months, then he'll have to wait until that time lapses. And then he will be able to sleep with her again. So if he gave talaq within that 1 month period, and then he did nikah again or took her back again, the ila will not cancel out. The ila and the qasam will still remain. This is what Hazrat Mufti Sahab has also explained. So these are some masail. Do you see how Quran is moving forward? We started with wala tankihul mushrikat, don't do nikah with mushrikat, and we did explain how nikah and the procedure. And then yas'alunaka anil mahiz, period of haiz and the nikah and sexual relationship. And then some masail regarding that. And then sometimes, things happen. So Allah mentioned some masail of qassam. And now Allah mentions this masla of special qassam. And then Allah goes on to wal mutallaqatu yatarabbasna. From here, masail of talaq start. And after masail of talaq finish, in between that, Allah mentions wal walidatu yurdi'na awladahunna hawlayni kamilayn. Masail of radha'at, breastfeeding. And if divorce happens and there's breastfeeding matters, how will be decided? Child support, maintenance, these masail will be mentioned. And then وَالَّذِينَ يُتَوَفَّوْنَ مِنْكُمْ وَيَذَرُونَ wafat. If a woman becomes widow, then masail of iddatul wafat and widow are mentioned in there. See how beautifully the Quran Sharif is moving forward all ayat are connected to one another. This goes up to 15th ruku until Alam tara ila alladhina kharaju min diyarihim wa hum ulufun. Over there, these matrimonial masail of muasharat, shadi, biya, talaq, iddatul wafat, iddatul talaq, these masail go on until the 15th ruku, from where the masala of infaq fi sabilillah and jihad will start. This is how Surah Baqarah moves on. May Allah give us tawfiq to read Quran, understand Quran, practice upon Quran. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. परवरदिगार आलम, हमारा यहाँ उठना बैठना कहना सुनना पढ़ना पढ़ाना कबूल फरमाइए, हम सबसे राजी हो जाइए, कुरान की समझ और फहम नसीब फरमाइए, हमारी कोताहियाँ कमजोरियाँ सुस्तियाँ और गफलतें माफ फरमाइए, खताओं से दरगुजर फरमाइए। रमज़ान का मुबारक महीना सामने है, उसको खैर व आफियत बरकत से रिसीव करने और खैर व आफियत बरकत से गुजारने की तौफीक नसीब फरमाइए। हमारी टूटी फूटी दुआएं सुन लीजिए। रब्बना तक़ब्बल मिन्ना इन्नका अंतस समीउल अलीम व तुब अलैना इन्नका अंतत तव्वाबुर रहीम व सल्लल्लाहु व सल्लिम अला सय्यिदिना मुहम्मद व आलिहि व सहाबिहि अजमईन बिरहमतिका।